Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Menopause Made Easy with Tanya. I am so excited for today's guest, Alissa Wolfe. And we both have vacation brain, just first of all. So we were just chatting about that before we hit play, because I've just come back from 2 weeks away and there was a holiday weekend in the US. So
Hmm.
we need to gear up into teaching mode here.
Right? We're just
Anyway,
about
welcome,
warming up our
Alyssa.
brains
Yeah,
with the
vacation
podcast.
brain. It's a real thing.
Yes.
We are human, everybody.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us today. Now, with our viewers, let's share who you are, what you do, and why I wanted to list on here is because, and she so graciously accepted my offer because pain is really interesting. And there's a new model of pain coming in just with, oh my gosh, I just got goosebumps, everybody, with
Ooh.
the information we're learning about just neuroscience, fascia, oh my gosh, body schema, all of this stuff. It's just a different way to look at pain. And Alissa is an expert in her field. So I wanted to have her on. So take it from there and let us know who you are.
Hmm. Well, thanks for reaching out. I'm excited to be here and talk to everybody. Like I said, we do have vacation brain, so I'm like, who am I? Where do I start? Hi, I'm Alissa. I have a doctorate in physical therapy, but I kind of, got into the clinic doing your typical PT stuff. And the seed had already been planted. I learned about neuroscience in PT school through a really great mentor. And so I get into the clinic and I'm doing, your standard TheraBands and clamshells and all the things and just kind of going, something else is out there and something is missing. People don't need more and more of the same exercises. Like if you've been doing the same clamshells for 10 years, that's probably not the solution that you're looking for, right? So I knew about the pain neuroscience side of things, so it just kind of kept rattling in the back of my brain, like this is still here. We need to, I was interested in it, so I kept reading articles, learned everything that I could about the pain neuroscience science side of things. It is fascinating, and hopefully we'll talk about that so you guys can see how fascinating it is. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And then, so I eventually transitioned out of doing, traditional orthopedic PT work, and now purely only see clients with chronic pain, complex pain, persistent pain, and it is a blast to help in this community. So,
So you know
yeah.
what? When we were chatting before, you said you had a new word for chronic pain.
Mm.
So,
Um, yeah, so that's why I threw in complex pain.
mhm.
Because I realized that, yeah, a friend of mine actually, she was talking to me and she's like, I don't think I'm not sure if your program would be a good thing for me. And I was like, well, what do you mean? You have pain, right? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, how long have you had pain? She's like 2 years, but I've never identified as somebody with chronic pain. And I'm like, well, it's chronic by definition because it's been longer than 6 months. So that's technically chronic. But she's like, I just don't identify as that because I saw my dad growing up with chronic pain and I'm not that person. And I thought about it a lot after she told me that. I'm like, how many people out there are in that boat that don't necessarily identify with chronic pain? Like I just have back pain, right? Like it's not
Mhm.
chronic, but still need help. And I know we talked a lot about the identity piece. And so I started shifting away from using the word chronic as much, and using complex pain instead, complex and persistent pain. I use complex because pain is complex, meaning it's multifactorial. Often use like a Venn diagram to explain this, but like you have three circles. And one part of pain is the physical aspect, so structural, bones, alignment, joints, ligaments, all the things. One of the other circles is that mental, emotional aspect, the stress side of things, the how you think, how you, all of that. But then there's a third circle that I would call the neurologic circle, the neurologic lens, which is basically all the nerves, all the signaling, all the wiring, the neurotransmitters, how your brain processes pain, the body schema, um, all of that processing that doesn't fall either in the structural side of things or in the mental emotional side of things. I like to think of that mental emotional side of things as the cognitive aspects, like the parts, the conscious part of pain that we can, feel and think about and respond to cognitively. But the neurologic piece is kind of all of the processing that's happening in the middle between the body and the mind. So, anyway, so we put all of those pieces together and we have a multifactorial the puzzle.
Hmm.
And it is complex. And I think what we often see, in most, I don't know, everywhere you look in the healthcare industry or pain care industry, is people are trying to isolate one single bubble and say it's all in your body, it's all in your mind, or even if I was to say it's all in your neurologic system, we'd all be wrong and we'd all be running into dead ends because usually it's not any one thing. So anyway, there you go. So that's why I switched
Hmm.
to using complex pain.
Yeah, I love that example, right? And one thing what I've learned with working with fascia for the last 15 years and just the amount everybody, again, I've got goosebumps, the amount they used to throw fascia away. They thought it was nothing, it was useless. And what they've learned in the last, I would even say 3 years is mind blowing. And we are still in the infancy of understanding fascia. and
Yeah.
and it's very basic, where I what I say to people for pain. And listen, I am not a pain specialist, but this is why I have Alissa on here with me, is that obviously I have pain at times, right? And
Mm.
I work with people with pain, and I've helped people through their pain. Is that they're like, I have something's the matter with my shoulder, and I'm like, okay, well, let's look at your excuse me, let's
Uh-oh.
look at your opposite hip and then down to your foot. And they're
Hmm.
like, no, but the pain's in my shoulder. I'm like, no, that's where if you pull a sweater, you
Yeah.
see the line of pull.
Yeah.
And so, I don't want to sound mean here. I'm going to have to cough in a second.
Hmm.
But if you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you go to somebody and they're just working on the site of pain, they're missing the puzzle,
Totally.
the puzzle
Totally.
piece,
Yeah.
right? And so often I find when I go, for massage or whatever, and they'll be like, where, I carry a lot of tension in my shoulder, but I'm like, can you work my feet and my calves?
Hmm.
Because so many
Absolutely.
things originate from your feet and go up.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do with for my menopausal ladies today and anybody who's listening is if you've been going to the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over, and you still have pain, you're not fixing the problem,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
so I wanted to have Alyssa on here to have you look at other areas. And one of the things that made me contact you was that I had this persistent pain.
Mm.
And whenever I go for anything, I always ask the people, how can I get rid of this?
Mm.
Right? And they're like, well, just come back in 6 weeks and we'll address it again. I'm like, yeah, but that's not addressing the problem.
Right.
And this one lady said, there's no breath into this area. And I was like, oh my gosh. And that took me down a rabbit hole,
Mm.
right? And
Hmm.
so this is what you're doing. You're connecting for people all of the different
Yeah.
things that could contribute to pain. So could you give us an example, so we can use something real life of somebody who's come to see you and how you would, help them?
Mm. My goodness, where do I begin? Well, I can't give you because like I said in my beginning spiel there,
Right.
pain
Yes.
is complex, so the solution is complex. So the explanation is never just like, hey, do this simple breathing drill. Let's do it together in 30 seconds and your pain is gone. It's taking the different pieces and putting them all together. And so I can give you some idea, like
Yeah.
some examples of what we would do in the program that we put together. But Number one, like I focus on the neurologic piece. Like in the work that I do, I try to bring people that aspect because it is so grossly overlooked for the most
Mhm.
part. Like most of the time by the time people find me, they've done years of physical therapy. They've probably done some sort of either counseling or therapy. And so they've tackled those aspects. And if they haven't, I'm usually like, make sure you have a counselor, okay? Um, but then the neurologic piece is that other piece that I think is obviously missing from most folks' care. Um, so in the program, we combine some skills with some drills. So the maybe I'll give you a couple of drills. There's um, some interesting things out there. There's something called left-right discrimination. There's motor imagery. There's something called sensory discrimination, and we also use mirror therapy.
Mhm.
Um, Sensory discrimination. So the idea with sensory discrimination is to improve the body schema. You mentioned that very early on, and I know that fascinates you. Basically, what happens, let's say you have pain in your foot. And there's a foot in your brain. Okay. Everybody has the body parts in their brain. We have a map in our brain of our bodies. The foot in the brain can become smudged. We call it smudging. And basically, the way that I like to think of that is the foot in the brain, it's like someone took an eraser and tried to erase it. And instead of it going away, it just turned into a smudge on the paper. And now the borders of the foot are hard to define. It's kind of blending in with the shin. It's kind of actually blending in with the pelvic floor because the foot is next to the pelvic floor in the brain. And so the borders are not well defined. We're not even sure if it's a foot anymore. It could be the left foot, could be the right foot. We're not really clear. Could it even be my foot? Maybe it's a foreign body. I don't know at this point. Brain is not sure.
Mhm.
So the brain is receiving information from that foot. It's just not able to process it as well. Because of that smudging. And so the map is blurry. So then as the brain, if it's receiving information, is going, I don't really know what this is supposed to feel like. So I'm going to create some sort of alarming sensation for you to get your attention. Usually it's pain, but it can be all kinds of crazy, weird stuff. Um, but anyway, when we do sensory discrimination, we're basically improving that smudge. We're trying to redefine the borders of your foot in your brain, make it so that it can actually process and differentiate between different types of sensory information from the limb or wherever your pain is. So, for example, your brain should know the difference between we're standing on hot coals and we're wearing a sock. But
Mhm.
if that smudge is so smudgy, it can't tell the difference. And so it's kind of going, well, I'm not sure if that's hot coals or a sock. So I'm going to just by default protect you just in case it is hot coals and it's going to feel like that, even though it's a sock. So anyway, all that to say, when we do sensory discrimination, we'll maybe take a few different tools. I'm just going to grab literally what's sitting on my desk right here. I have a dry erase marker, and I have a paintbrush. Well, you can see that. So you might have a partner find a whole bunch of different objects, and without you looking, you would be touched with this or something else, and you would have to say, I feel the paintbrush, or I feel the dry erase marker or the back of my pen, whichever it is. And because so what you're having to do is practice the differentiation, strengthening it
Mm.
like it's a muscle. Just like we strengthen our muscles, we're practicing that differentiation skill to improve the body schema map.
Oh my gosh, it's
One of
just
the
so
things that we
incredible.
do.
It's so incredible because I was reading about the body schema today. So again, correct me, but the fingers, like we are highly connected to our fingers.
Right,
But it
right.
said something like your mid back, you might not have thought
Mm,
about your mid back for
hmm.
30 years. So
Yeah.
there's no signal there anymore. And it's not about squeezing the muscles, it's about
Mm,
something deeper. And I was just like, when I explain to people too,
mm.
because some people may be listening and they go, well, I can tell I have 2 feet
Yes.
and they're touching the ground,
Yeah.
right? But it's like just to think that the intelligence of your brain going, obviously, if there's pain in one foot, like having that smudging line, that's what I was reading about, like the
Hmm.
smudge, that it doesn't have a clear picture. It's
Hmm.
so crazy. And so
Yeah.
I love the work that you're doing because, again, the body is more than just lifting weights and strengthening the muscle. If you don't
Hmm.
have the signals,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
sensory thing, it's not online as much as it could be.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that a good way to
I
say
like to
that?
think of it like one of the metaphors I use is, if you have a spouse, you've spoken to them your whole relationship, the same language, you've communicated the same time. Imagine all of a sudden one day your spouse runs into the room, but they're speaking gibberish. They're speaking some other language you've never heard before, and you're just sitting and they're screaming. They're going, ah, blah, blah, like, and you're going, I don't know what you're saying, but this is really alarming. I'm going to call 911. We call it 911 here.
Yeah.
You call 911 just in case because I'm not sure what it is that you're trying to tell me. And that's the same thing that the body is sending messages up to the brain, kind of, it's getting bombarded with messages. The brain's like, all of a sudden, we're not on the same page. We're not speaking the same language anymore. I don't know what you're saying. So I'm going to call 911 just in case something bad is happening. And so we need to clean up that body schema. What's interesting, and this kind of I might be going into the next, I don't know, topic here.
There's no agenda here. Go wherever.
Um, but so just to anybody listening too, yes, the hands in your brain are larger than your lower back in your brain. And so obviously, and your face is larger than your hands. Like our sensory here is way different than here and then the bottom of your feet, thank God, because I
Yeah.
would not want to walk on my face based on what I can feel here. It's very
Hmm.
different on purpose. But anyway, so like when you let's say you have a back injury, you hurt your back, you lifted something, and then what happens is we often try to, whether literally like with a brace or we self-immobilize. We kind of guard the area, we stop moving it, we try not to bend, we try not to twist, we do the log rolls and
Hmm.
um, immobilization, um, guarding, compensating, neglecting, all of that kind of causes that smudging. So going too far into avoidance of not moving it, being extremely fearful of movement, is not advised.
Hmm.
Okay. We don't want to go so far into that side of things. But at the same time, I'm also, please don't hear me say, like, oh, your back hurts, just suck it up and start bending. Like, that's not also what I'm saying. Because if we go too far the other direction and we're just like pushing through, that, and I'm only speaking to neurologically what's happening because physically you can imagine what could happen if you just push through. But neurologically, we don't want to just keep reinforcing those pathways because they're learning. Like, you guys have probably heard about, um, the more you use it, those pathways become stronger. So the more you're in pain, and every time you bend and you push through and you're just doing too much, you're like, oh, well, it's going to hurt anyway. It's only reinforcing that
Yeah.
pain. And so we have to kind of find this happy medium between the two ends of things where we're not avoiding and we're not overdoing, which is really challenging. But that's one of the main skills. When I was saying earlier, like we have drills and we have skills. One of the main skills is learning to what I call push to it, not through it. So you're not overdoing it and you're not avoiding. So we're working on smudging and we're working on not like basically breaking those pathways down and normalizing their signaling so we're not just rerunning the pain show every time.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And
so
you know what? So much of our movement is unconscious. So, for example, I teach Pilates, and one of them is like a Pilates roll up. Okay. So everybody just wants to get up. And
yeah,
this is not related to pain, but this reinforces what you're
oh, it
saying.
sure is.
Everybody just wants to get up. So what they do is they engage, they start down here, they drop through here, and then they power through their hip flexors to whip them up.
Yeah,
They're not doing any spine articulation. They're not doing any rolling through the rectus abdominis,
yeah,
lengthening through the back. And so I say to them, stop, because you're reinforcing a habit that you're never going to get this because
Mm.
you keep doing it incorrectly. But the
Hmm.
ego just wants to sit up.
Yeah.
And so this is, to everybody out there, none of this is, there's no quick fix. There is no quick fix. There is no quick fix for
Hmm.
anything, right?
Yeah.
And so when I take like a simple Pilates curl up, roll up, whatever you want to call it, then maybe we have to practice a pelvic tilt. Maybe we have to practice a reverse bridge. Maybe there's just a part in the reverse bridge that you have to learn how to articulate the vertebrae. Maybe you notice the right side is pulling more than the left side. It's this level of awareness, right? And then maybe eventually you can do a roll up without cheating, but it's not getting to the top of the mountain. And so many of us, myself included, I'm human, have always wanted to get to the top of the mountain without the skills and the drills that you're talking about of really retraining. So
Hmm.
this is like how I help people not get into pain.
No, but that actually is something. Um, so the smudging that I was talking about, it does it happens in the sensory cortex, but it also happens in the motor cortex. So your ability to differentiate between sensory inputs becomes impaired, but also the motor outputs, basically what your brain tells your body to do, is smudgy too. So it often we see instead of isolated, fine-tuned movements, isolated joint movements, we're seeing like you know, the whole lumbar segment moving together,
Yeah.
the whole like segmentally moving instead of one vertebrae. So they're going to struggle with that. But one of the great exercises that we teach is segmental like movement. So what you're saying, isolating one vertebrae at a time, which does
Mhm.
not, the goal is not just to do sit-ups and strengthen your hip flexors at this point. It's to move one vertebrae at a time. So sometimes that takes a very long time to go through that process
Oh,
to
yeah.
there's so many vertebrae. So the goal isn't to do, three sets of however many. It's maybe do three repetitions of a sit up where you're doing one vertebrae at a time. That's going to take you twice as long.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I think it takes a little bit of a different mindset. It takes a mindset like I didn't have this in my 30s. Right? It was like just the ego was there. I'm going to
Oh
push
yeah.
hard, push
Push
hard.
it.
And when I actually was trained in Pilates in my late 20s, at first I was like, "Oh my God, this is so boring." I'm like,
Mm.
"Oh my God." And but I have absolutely applied it to everything I've done because I get it. And
Hmm.
it's not about doing a squat or a sit up. It's about how to do it, right? So this is
Yeah.
like me trying to avoid people getting in pain. But the other thing is that we have normal walking patterns. We have normal postures,
Mm.
right? And over time, so you're younger than I am, and this is what I say to people who get to be older, unless you've had like an acute injury. So say like you are, any age, you twist, your back goes.
Mhm.
My theory is, you know, nothing happens all of a sudden. It's
Mm.
that you have had postural deviations and postural habits that all of a sudden that thing happened. And the older
Mhm.
you get, more of those all of a suddens happen because you have been out of alignment, right?
Mm.
You are in your, like, do you see that? Am I?
I would not I wouldn't disagree because like that stuff can certainly predispose tweaking,
Mm-hmm.
if you will.
That's a good word, tweaking. Yep.
Um, but what I would add to that is to anyone listening, not to be afraid of normal variance. So if you don't walk symmetrically, there's nothing to fear. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to swing so far into um like 'cause sometimes you hear people that are like you have to have perfect posture 100% of the time. You have to work all like walking perfectly symmetrically and that can almost lead into this like obsessive way
Mm-hmm.
of thinking and fear driven like if I slouch what's going to happen, my back's going to shoot out like a cheeseburger and it's going to shoot out the back. Look, your back is probably stronger than that. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
like don't be afraid to slouch, don't be afraid to just move your body and be fluid with that. Um, and also that what I would add to that, yes, that those normal variants can lead to tweakages. Sounds weird,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody gets tweaks. We all
Everybody.
do.
Yeah.
It's normal. It does not mean that it's going to last forever. So if I was to tweak something at any age, my first initial thought process is to what can I do to move it safely? Because I don't want to let my brain turn into smudging. Like I don't want to just, so I'll give you a real life example. This is not a tweak. I dropped a table on my foot.
Mm.
Don't recommend it. Um, a solid chunk of wood. It was a coffee table, but like it had a live edge, and one of the live edges was pointy. Of course, I dropped the pointy part on my foot. I thought it was broken for sure. And I thought for sure this is where I turn into my own patient. But I sat there and, hold my foot for however long I needed for that initial
Yeah.
wave of pain. But then I'm like, okay, wiggle your toes. Like just the slightest little move. What can I do? Can I move my ankle? Okay. Like, and I'm not doing like just get up and walk it off. I was just like, okay, like I'm gonna explore some movement here so that I don't let my brain go into this fear, this overprotection, this, and then it turns into something awful. So anyway, if you tweak your back, if you whatever, sprain an ankle, whatever happens, keep moving.
Hmm.
But gently explore the movement, even if you have to do micro movements, even if you have to move a nearby joint. So maybe I couldn't move my foot or my ankle in that situation. Maybe I can move my knee. Okay, like I would explore that. So yeah, there you go. That's my thought on
Yeah.
it.
No, and you know what? I think there's the fear out there that people are going to make themselves worse because a lot of the times I have people come to me and it's like,
Mhm.
I was told that I can't squat.
Yeah.
And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
well, squatting is like
You
pretty
do it.
fundamental. It's like
You
getting
kind of have
on and
to.
off a toilet. So what
Yeah.
can we do? Right.
Yeah.
And so that's how I always look at like, what
Yep.
can we do? Now, I don't have your level of knowledge, which I find is fascinating, but I would be like, okay, well, we can strengthen the quad sitting in a chair and lifting and lowering your foot up and down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
what can we do where a lot of people just either, don't have the education or there's that fear of, like you said, it just becomes
Mhm.
like shut
Overprotection.
down.
Yeah. 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 We definitely want to stay away from that, of course.
Hmm.
And that's not me saying just walk it off, suck it up, buttercup, you're fine.
Yeah.
Like use reason. Like I might have broken my foot in that situation, but I still was like, I'm gonna explore safe movement. So be safe with it. But yeah, yeah, you have to squat.
Yeah. You have to
And
squat.
you are squatting whether you even realize it or not, probably.
Yeah.
So,
I
but
know, and
yeah.
that's why I love teaching like functional movement to people because I'm
Hmm.
like, we twist, we reach, we
Yes. You
squat,
need to be
we
able to
do.
use your body in every
Yeah.
position.
Yeah. So we talked about the identity of
Hmm.
pain. Do you want to touch upon that a little bit? Um,
Mm.
how to say it?
Yeah. Um, I think one of the another reason why I think I've shifted away from using the term chronic is that, and this is, I hopefully won't offend anyone who's listening who does have chronic pain and identifies as, oh, I do have chronic pain. But I've found that, and I'm sure you've seen this too, where some people, once they kind of are like, oh, I have chronic pain, it becomes part of their identity. It's like, you know, I really don't want to offend anybody online, but here we go. Um, they'll almost it becomes I'll never get better. I have chronic pain. Like, what do you mean, am I better? I'll never get better. I have chronic pain. Like, and I stand on that hill and I will die on that hill. And I'm of the belief where it's like, well, you may have pain to some degree the rest of your life, but are we committing to this long-term relationship where we're not even willing to like say it can get better? Can it get better? Like, I don't know that we can cure it. I don't know that for sure, but I at least would challenge the belief of it's not going to stay where it's at. It does not have to stay where it's at today. It can get better, and if it gets better, in a year? Can it get better by the next year? Like, can it continuously get better? Because we
Hmm.
can influence, we're constant, our bodies are constantly adapting. So if we can harness that, then I would argue that it can get better. So yeah, it's sad sometimes you see people like completely latch into this identity, to almost to the point where, you see people online where they're like, hi, my name's Susie and I have chronic pain. In fact, I went to a women's retreat and one of the presenters, it was a beautiful testimony that she shared, but I was so bummed because she walked on stage. By the way, the whole women's retreat was on identity, like, who are you, basically in God's eyes. But she came on the stage and was like, hi, my name's Susie and I have chronic pain. And I was like, we're at a retreat talking about not identifying
Hmm.
as something that did God say you're Susie with chronic pain or did God say you're Susie?
Yeah.
But yeah, so she was still, it was part of her testimony. So granted, um, but it just is like, yeah, it could have been, I'm Susie and I'm healing from chronic pain.
Yes.
Like it just,
Yeah.
one word, one extra
Oh,
word.
I like that. I'm
Um,
healing. Well, so I will back, I don't know, this is probably 20 years ago. I read something from Dr. Christiane Northrup, and it really hit home because I will put my hand up to say that I have played the victim role in my life.
mhm, mhm,
I had, an addiction to sugar. When you aren't well, I had like, chronic bronchitis for years, decades, pneumonia, sinus issues, all of these things. And you get more sympathy with pain. It's just the world we live
mm,
in.
yeah.
And she said, sometimes when you take on the role of the pain, the identifier of the chronic pain or whatever pain, you start to get more attention.
Mm.
And I was like, oh man, that hurt. That
Yeah.
hurt.
I believe
Be-
is it oh, what's his name? The Tony Robbins. He does something on like the six human needs and they are like love and affection, growth and contribution. I'm not going to be able to rattle all of them off. Variety, consistency, but basically when something meets three or more of those needs, it can be basically become an addiction. It's harder to break up with at that point. And the same thing goes for like anxiety, for pain. Like, is pain meeting your need for love and affection? Is pain meeting your need for consistency? Is pain
Mhm.
like every morning I wake up and there's my back?
Yeah.
Is pain meeting your need for variety? Is it meeting your need for growth and contribution? Like how, if pain is meeting your need for growth and contribution, how hard is that going to be to break up with? Like, I've found my purpose in life through pain. How will who are you at that point? I think we've had a lot of conversations with my clients on that topic, like who am I if I don't have pain? And they're almost like, I don't know, I don't want to go there because I don't want to do the work of finding who I am again.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a
Well,
teenager anymore. I don't want to go figure this
yeah.
out.
And you know what? That's the growth of the menopause. Like all my friends right now, it's like because I've just done, actually, I'm still doing stuff with my coaching clients right now of identity work and
Mhm.
listening. So people will say, I am lazy. Like, I don't work out
Mhm.
because I am lazy. I'm like, well, you're not lazy if you want to go to the beach or if you want to do an art project. So
Yeah.
you're not really lazy. It's just not a priority.
Yeah.
Right. And so starting to really
Mhm.
dissect what you keep saying about yourself,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
it is tough work. So when I was going through this thing about 20 years ago, to your point, I would get attention being sick and still teaching,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And then I had to slowly build some skills and some self-confidence to be the person. So to your point, who am I without being sick?
Mhm.
And I'll tell you, it's it's work to come
Mhm.
out of that, to be victim and move out of that, because it does change the relationship of different people in your life.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
that is something to really notice. And I will have clients that'll say, I am anxious, like I am an anxious person. And I'm like, okay, let's start by saying a part
I'm a
of me.
person with
Yeah,
anxiety who
yeah.
struggles with.
Exactly. Like a
It's not
part of
you.
me feels
Yeah.
anxious when this
Hmm.
happens. So you're not taking
Hmm.
on the
Yes.
whole thing.
Yes.
right? And so it is really interesting to listen to our internal language and our verbiage
Mm-hmm.
when we're speaking to see how we identify, because I always say that your cells are listening to everything. And I've just been, again, reading more on the fascial network, and it listens to everything. It
Mm-hmm.
listens to sound, vibration, your thoughts are vibration. And I'm telling you, everybody, it is like, oh my gosh. So, it is really important to really just notice your thoughts like a movie, which I've been teaching
Mm-hmm.
for years, just to
Yeah.
see how you identify yourself with.
Yeah.
And then you get to make the choice if you want to move out of it or not.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yep. Or even something as simple as catching your, like, I love what you're saying because I've had clients do this as well. Catch yourself in the thought or when it floats by you, I am lazy, I am broken, I am chronic pain, I am whatever. Sometimes we tell ourselves like, I'm stupid, I'm so stupid. Why would
Yeah.
I do that? Like, no, I'm not. Like, I reject that thought.
Hmm.
I do not choose to come into agreement with that thought.
Hmm.
That is not true of who I am. Like, I'm stupid. No, I made a mistake. Oops, everybody messes up.
Yeah,
Not a big
exactly.
deal.
Yeah.
I'm
What
not
can I learn
stupid.
from this
Yeah,
so I don't
yeah,
repeat it again?
yeah.
Right? And that's that curiosity piece. So this is, work I've been doing for a long time is curiosity, awareness, grace, love, compassion, right?
Hmm.
Like really focusing. And listen, I've had people who have said to me, Tanya, like I can't follow you because you're too curious and you're too aware and I want to stay where I am. And I'm like, that's
Yeah,
fine, right? That's
yeah.
fine. So you just learn to, people will gravitate towards who you are. Um,
Hmm.
so, but it is challenging, I will say, because even, you stepping away from making a new identity, looking at these three pieces
Hmm.
and doing a different model of how to look at pain is new to people.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
paradigm shift,
challenging.
but there's a
Hmm.
lot of paradigm shifts going on right now, people,
Hmm. Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well,
Oh,
I think that can be, and we're in a weird place right now. I think it can be overwhelming to people to
yes.
go like, there is so much new and information is so readily available to go, I don't know what to trust and I don't know which avenue to take. I'm of the belief that like everything is probably true to some extent as long as we don't take it to the polar ends of things
Yeah.
like, you know, um, yeah, there's science out there. Like you can prove almost anything you want with science these days. Like, oh, I want to prove that fluoride is bad. Sorry, I'm bringing up fluoride because it was something we talked about this week. And like, oh, I want to prove that fluoride is bad. Okay, yep, we've got studies that support that, but we also have studies that support fluoride is really good. So I don't know. I'm like,
Who do
I
you
don't know
believe?
anymore.
Yeah, who
It's somewhere in the middle then, right? I has to like there has to be, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but
well,
I
this
don't
is what
like to drift into any one extreme on things
yeah. And
most
then
of the
this is
time.
what I would also say. Okay. And this is next level, which most people don't do. And I'm not just saying that, they've done studies. But if you say you bring up the fluoride example, then you go, okay, who did the studies?
Mm.
Who did the studies? Who paid for the studies? What did they
Hmm.
find that supported and against it? Who did the
Hmm.
studies? Right?
Hmm.
But I think it was something like 99% of the population will see a headline and
Yes,
never do
that's
the
it.
investigative work,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm always going, okay, who did the study? Where did the money come from? Um, is there a safe amount? This is with everything, right?
Hmm.
Because it wasn't in our water at one time, or I'm just making this up, everybody. It wasn't in our water, it wasn't in
Yeah.
our toothpaste, it wasn't in all
Not an
these
expert
things.
on fluoride, by the
Yeah.
way.
So now it's in everything. So
Yeah.
now we've swung to the other
Yes,
way.
that's what I mean.
Yeah. And so
That's what we see.
it's always parsing this information out. And so this model of pain, if you have been going for, uh, you know, and I'm not dissing any of these modalities at all.
Mm-mm.
But if you keep going and it's not lessening or lessening to the point where it kind of shows up again, or you want a different approach, there are different things you can do now.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's,
I have can I tell a quick anecdote
yeah.
story? I have a client who just recently started the program and emailed me within like the first week and was like, "Hey, I had a look in the libraries," which by the way, I tell everybody, don't start in the libraries because you're gonna get overwhelmed, you're gonna get confused, you're gonna get like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" Anyway, so he looks in the libraries, he emails me and he goes, "I looked in the libraries and I can there are not TA exercises." By the way, this person is a yoga instructor and a like basically a body and health coach. Um, um, and he's like, there's no TA exercise, which is transverse abdominis. So obviously this person has very high level like understanding of anatomy. And he's like, there's no TA exercise. There's just some generic ab exercises in there. And I need core work. I was like, you did not sign up for this program for more core work. Like
Yeah.
you know already more than the average person, to anybody who has chronic pain, you already know more than the average person how to do most of just the generalized body work. Like if you're coming in and you're looking for another piece, more of the same body work exercises, it's one piece of the puzzle and it is an important piece of the puzzle, but just I loved the metaphor that you said. Maybe you should tell it because it was your puzzle piece
Oh, the puzzle piece.
metaphor.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
just yeah, in here, Alyssa and I were talking before we hit record, before we did this podcast, and you're a thousand piece puzzle, and everybody keeps trying to jam the same two puzzle pieces like diet and exercise, and I'm being
mhm,
very vague here, but there's skills and drills. I love your words there, skills and
mhm,
drills. There's like 900 other um, puzzle pieces, and you need to pull those pieces in. Now, you know what's interesting about those puzzle pieces is it takes more effort,
mhm.
right? So he's gravitating to what he knows
Yep.
because the other pieces take more effort. It's energy, everybody, to learn new skills and drills
Mhm.
and to practice and apply them. And then you
Yeah.
have your ego that's sitting over here going, just a minute, what you did yesterday, you're still alive, you're still working. The ego is trying to conserve energy. Oh my gosh, your life is stressed. So this is where grace and compassion come in to really understand that this work, any work,
Mhm.
like emotional eating, like you talked about at the beginning, how people don't
Mhm.
identify with chronic pain.
Mhm.
Do you know how many people have been like, I didn't even think I was an emotional eater? Had no
Um,
idea I was an emotional eater,
yeah.
right? And so just being aware, like that's another puzzle piece, the
Yep.
awareness puzzle
Mhm.
piece. And then the skill of, I feel this pain when I do X.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's another piece of the puzzle. Okay, so how do I change that? And so it's building this beautiful puzzle, but so many of us just keep working that same puzzle piece over and over, and it's just,
Yeah.
and I
Well,
did the
what
same thing for a long
I
time.
I believe that, and I the way I was thinking of it too is like it's like you have the pieces at the middle of the puzzle, but like you can't they're not connecting to anything because the piece that you need to make that connection, maybe it is that neurologic piece. And I was that's what what I sent back to him. I was like, yeah, you may have a weak core. You may need to activate your TA, although I would argue probably not at this point because you've been doing it for so many years.
Hmm.
Like, and you're actually a body worker, so you know. But anyway, I was like, the neurologics, when we address the neurologic aspects, because there could be neurologically, your brain can actually neurologically be shutting off the TA on purpose as a form of protection. So, like, maybe the reason your TA is weak, is because we need to do this neurologic piece first. So, in
And
order for that piece to fit,
what would be a neurological piece?
what do you mean?
Like,
So the skills and drills.
okay, so like the
Yeah.
paintbrush.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
The motor imagery, like the left right discrimination, all of those drills, yeah, so we can kind of get the wiring and the connection. So like the nerves are firing way too much too. That's a whole nother side of it. It's not just brain. But yeah, so addressing that side of things because often, um, not to go on another tangent here, but the the brain, if it's in that protective state, like so going back to the smudge, if it's kind of going like, holy crap, I don't really know what's happening down there. I'm not totally sure because it's all blurry. I'm going to protect you. What does it do in a in an injury state, it shuts off certain muscle groups and it overactivates and increases muscle tension in other groups. So we're having this muscle imbalance happening. And so often what happens when you go to PT is we go, okay, your TA is not firing, your glute med's not firing, your multifidus isn't firing. And we're just going to keep trying to do that over and over, hammering it and hammering it. But like neurologically, it's being shut off. And no matter what we do, the other muscles are going to kick on and overcompensate. So we're almost reinforcing the problem there. And so maybe the reason we can't get that to work is because there's this neurologic piece. And if we can get that smudge back, not smudged, and then quiet the nerves down as well, because they're firing like crazy, then the brain won't have to protect it anymore. And so it can actually say, oh, let's activate that multifidus again. The TA can activate again, and all those, like the hip flexors can finally relax, you know,
Yeah.
because they're
So,
probably like this.
yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, so this is like if you take that puzzle piece, which we just that puzzle, this is
Mm.
what we were talking about before. Yeah, you're trying to get the piece in the middle because you want to get to
Yep.
the top of the mountain, but you have to
Hmm.
connect it from the outside and
Exactly.
all around.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
and
almost like
it's
start with the basics. If you don't
yeah.
have, yeah,
No, nobody wants to do the basics.
exactly.
No. No, like I
We
just
want the fanciest, like
yes.
we want the newest technology because that's the best, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, I
There's
love
no
just
quick fix for anything.
so tell people about your program. Like, what is it? What do you do? I know you've touched upon it, but just like a consolidated.
Mm. Well, the program, just in general, like how I work with folks, like there are pre-recorded videos that kind of do the most of the teaching work. So I love to teach the science. I think it's very important for people to understand neurologically what's going on. So obviously there's lessons on smudging. There's lessons on nerve sensitivity. How do the nerves adapt? They change their receptors, guys. Every 48 hours, the nerves are changing their receptors. So we can influence that. So how does all this work? You're learning about that alongside learning a new skill or drill every week, layering that in one piece at a time. Again, going back to this is never a quick instantaneous fix. It takes time to introduce each drill. So people will jump into the program and they'll get like, what am I missing? I'm not doing like 100 new things within the first week. I'm like, yeah, because we're going to introduce one thing 1 week at a time. And
Hmm.
that takes time because we don't want to do 7 new things at once and have no idea what's helping and what's not helping. So we have to optimize each step before we move to the next one. So anyway, the videos do a lot of that heavy lifting of teaching. And then I also do like, sessions with folks to, clear up any questions, talk through specific scenarios, and challenges and talk about flare-ups and how can we prevent that from happening again and how do we, what do we do when the flare-up happens? And so anyway, so it's both pre-recorded videos and live sessions. There's a couple of different options for that, but I don't have to get into all of that.
Hmm.
And for fun, I'm going to throw this out there. I'm changing the name of my program
Okay.
because we talked about this. So right now, as we're recording this, it's called the Chronic Pain Breakup Method. It's been that way for 5 years. It's going to be, drum roll.
Drum roll.
It's changing to the Uprising Complex Pain Academy. I wanted something that was much more like we're pulling you up and we're pulling you forward. We're pulling you out of that situation that you're in and we're moving forward from it. So
Beautiful.
Uprising Complex Pain Academy. Um, yeah, it takes anywhere from 16 to 20 weeks to go through it. Most people are kind of in that. Some people blast through it faster than that, but just takes time to
It
do it.
takes time.
Yeah.
Listen, you know what? I had the sugar addiction. Oh my gosh. And like this is what I teach people as part of my course or just private coaching or whatever is like I will admit I was the person at the bottom of the mountain that want like Sunday and Monday I'm at the top of the
If I'm
mountain.
not fixed, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no more sugar and without addressing emotional, chemical. Oh my
Mm.
gosh, there's so many things that it's just, and the
Mhm.
diet industry, and you could even see the pain
Yeah,
industry
it's so
praise
bad.
on people like, just take this pill, take away your
Mhm.
pain. And you
Yep.
know what? It might work short term, but I know this, that you will have compensatory patterns in your body. Then you have the side effects of the medication. Then you have to increase the
Mhm.
dose of the medication because it starts to wear off. Like, again, I go back to there's no quick fixes, everybody. I won't even work with anybody anymore who wants a quick fix. I
Yeah.
just, because ethically and morally, I just
Yeah.
cannot do it.
You have to commit to the process.
Yeah.
You have to. And yeah, at least for in what I do, it's pain is hard. Obviously, I mean, not saying anything else that people are dealing with isn't hard, but if you need, like, if there are modalities that you can use, if you need to take medications along the way,
Yeah.
because this is a long process, like, absolutely still do that. But just relying on those quick fixes day in and day out, that's never going to move things forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, this
long
is a great
term.
analogy too.
Hmm.
It's so both you and I are talking the same things. Like, we're giving you tools in a toolbox. And a
Hmm.
lot of people, and again, if you're on medication, that's fine. But what I'm saying is that you are trying to build a house with a hammer. So you're
Hmm.
just trying to build a whole house with a hammer, instead of like, I need a saw and a drill saw and nails and screwdrivers and God knows what else you need with to build a house, because I'm not in that
Hmm.
business. But there's 5 tools that you absolutely need to build a house, and we keep using one tool. Like, we use
Hmm.
a diet or
Hmm.
this exercise or this pain pill, right? And so this is giving you more tools in your
Hmm.
toolbox to help you navigate your way
Yes.
if you so choose.
Yes. And giving you an upgraded toolbox because we're going to put them into a tool chest. I actually use this in my program because you need to, it's like when you're building a house, do I start with a paintbrush? No, you're going to need that tool, but not until the end. So the order of how you use them, how often you use them, when do I use these tools, that's
Hmm.
also important. So just having tools and then going, okay, great. Like I might forget that that paintbrush is even in there. And then I'm like
Yeah.
going to the store to buy a new one and going, oh, I had one this whole time. Anyway, we see that happening a
No,
lot.
and this
So
goes
I'm funny.
back to, and it helps to put it in different analogies because it helps people. But this goes back to when we talked the basic skills. People want the fancy windows and the
Hmm.
nice couch and all that. But if you
Yeah.
don't have a foundation, if you
Yeah.
don't have structure, that house is falling down.
Hmm.
Or it's
Hmm.
right. And so you
Hmm.
need the basics. You
Yeah.
need the basics. I might go buy a paintbrush. Actually, I have one, and start tickling
I
my.
have one always on my desk for so many purposes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm
Hmm.
intrigued just to check out your course. Um, because I always like learning new ways of looking at things. And this is why I saw this article, everybody. And literally, I did
Hmm.
not know Alyssa. And I just shot this off to her because my friend Vanessa goes, "Oh my God, you should chat with Alyssa." And I sent her, I'm a very direct person. I'm like, "Hey, you don't know me, but Vanessa said I should chat with you. Check out this article. I'd love to have you on my podcast." And because there is the information coming out is so, oh, exciting.
It
And I
is.
wanted to get it into people's hands,
Mm. Yes.
to try and understand this body schema, the neurological stuff you're talking about. And
Hmm.
oh my gosh, to me, it's exciting. It's so
It is
exciting.
exciting. The problem is, we go back to the industry and insurance companies and the medical model really not being built for this. I get asked all the time, well, then why hasn't my doctor told me about this? Like as if my doctor hasn't told me, then it must not be legit. Like I'm just pulling it out of thin air. I'm like, no, there's thousands and thousands of research studies, but doctors are not being taught this in medical school. And if they are, they're getting a bullet point on a slide, and then they get into the clinic and they're being taught by their um, what are they called? When you do residency, your resident or whoever your attendee, who hasn't had any training in it either. And so then it's just not being reinforced. So, it's going to take decades for this
Yeah.
science that exists, that we know is happening, to get into the medical system. We're seeing it now. Unfortunately, a lot of people are getting hurt by it because what happens is doctors will have like an ounce of information, like, oh, there's this neurologic piece. So then they'll say it to somebody and it comes off as it's all in your head.
Mm.
And it sounds like we're just brushing you off because we don't know what else to do. Go see a psychologist. And that's unfortunately where we're at right now, but things will make it there eventually. Maybe give it 15 to 20 more years.
I know it's crazy. I've mentioned this before in my podcast. And you know what? Let's just say this as well. Like doctors for a long time dealt with acute
Hmm.
issues. Now we have entered the space of chronic lifestyle disease, and they are not
Yep.
educated the same way as like me with like diet and exercise, you with your pain. And so what I hope to see is that more people say, like more doctors go, you know what? I am not trained in this, so I'm going to put my ego down a notch,
Right.
like 10
Yes.
notches here, and I'm going to say, I am not trained in this, but Alissa is, or
Hmm.
Tanya's trained in this, and go and see them.
Yeah.
Because so they've been trained for what they've been trained to do,
Yeah.
but we are living in an entirely different landscape than we were 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And the information and this is from me talking to doctors. They are getting
Yeah.
trained not in today's
Yeah.
stuff. They're getting
Yeah.
trained, and this is why we said 10, 15 years ago. Now, hopefully that gap shortens. But I think the bigger piece of this is where you say, you know what? I don't know, but I'm going to send
Hmm.
you here because they do know.
Yes.
And that takes a shift in ego. It takes a shift in working from like a team, right?
Hmm.
So I
Oh,
have
yeah.
hope that it'll happen. I don't know when, I don't know how, but in the meantime, I'll keep promoting
Oh, I
people
know.
like you and giving people options.
I can't wait to see that. I could go on and on about this, but yeah, it's just that the train, like, like the way that the ego is a huge problem in the medical community. Like the way that we train residents, like you can't, what do you mean you need sleep? What do you mean you need to like wear a diaper? You don't need to go to the bathroom. This is how we, you know, train our doctors through shaming them into saying that rest is for the weak. And so like admitting that you don't know something would
Hmm.
be a failure. So
Well,
yeah, if that could change.
I was either listening to Greg Braden or Joe Dispenza or Biology of Belief, Bruce Lipton. I'm pretty sure it was one of those guys. And they are brilliant. If you guys have not read their work, oh my gosh, or listened to them speak,
Mm-hmm.
but they were basically saying that, and not like certain professions their ego is so big that they will not admit they made a mistake just to keep their lie going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so the ego work, I've been doing a lot of ego versus soul work lately. It's fascinating.
Mm.
It's so fascinating. My sister and I just did this thing together, and where we have to write a letter from our ego and then write a letter from our soul about a certain topic. And I
Ooh.
tell you, um, if you haven't studied your ego, it's really important to get in touch with your ego.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And so I've been teaching this, I don't know, probably like 15 years because I can remember we would use this example of, hey, my ego's name is Sally. Hey, Sally, thank you for driving the bus, for protecting me from the things I didn't know you were protecting me from. But now I'm ready to drive my bus. You get to the back.
Love
And so
it.
when you get this level of awareness of being driven by ego, it is life changing
Mm-hmm.
because your
Mm.
ego wants you to do the same thing day after day to protect you from anything new. And this is why it's so hard to start a new habit. It's so hard to get out of pain because the
Mm-hmm.
pain has served you, it's protected you.
Yeah.
And it also, like I said, wants to conserve energy. So these things take effort. And then you realize, because this is what I realized from this, it's there's nothing wrong with me. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people put blame on themselves.
Yeah.
And when you can understand that your ego is just trying to protect you, it's very freeing.
Oh, yes.
So
That sounds
this
like
is what
something
I
I
mean,
should get
people.
into now. The
What's
next
that?
next thing to look up, learn about.
Yeah, and that's another
Yeah.
skill, right? To all
Mhm.
of this, to your work, to
Absolutely.
everybody's work. So
Yes.
beautiful. Well, thank you. Let everybody know where they can find
Oh
you.
goodness.
Um,
Yeah, you can find me on my website, first of all. It's an easy place to start. AlissaWolfe.com, ALISSAWOLFE.com. I'm also on Instagram at Pain Relief with Alissa. I believe I'm also still on TikTok, whether I like it or not. I'm on YouTube, so pretty much you can find me on most of the big major social media
Perfect.
platforms.
And can people join your program at any time, or do you have certain
Mhm.
stop and start dates?
No, we do ongoing enrollments, no cohorts. Everyone starts whenever they're ready, and mainly because everyone moves at a different pace.
Yeah,
There's no competition, no
good.
pressure. You go at your own pace anyway, so
Perfect.
start
Well,
anytime.
thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope everybody, this has like just opened your eyes to just different ways to manage pain, deal with pain. I know I'm intrigued. I've learned some things.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
very good. Any last
yeah.
words you'd like to say?
No, you can get better. Things can change. Don't identify as I'm Sally with chronic pain. Yeah, or Susie, whichever. Didn't want to use your
Sally's my
ego's
ego
name.
name.
But yeah, yeah, you can change it. You can get better. You can do so many more things. I hear it all the time. Like I've tried everything, as if it's like I can't do anything else. And I would challenge that belief. So
Yeah,
we keep moving forward. That's
yeah,
about it.
yeah. Challenge that belief. That is a very good one, everybody.
Hmm.
All
Hmm.
right. Thank you for listening. Please share this with your family, your friends, anybody who's in pain, anybody who wants to get out of pain. Alissa has a beautiful program that will just open you up to just trying new things and being adventurous. So thank you for listening, everybody.
Thank
Please like and
you.
subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Oh, just a second. I gotta put my glasses on for this. Oh no. Just a sec, everybody. Technical error. Oh, you know what happens? How sometimes Zoom likes to change things?
It does. It hides buttons. It did
Yes,
a recent update where I think I have to click on the
found it.
more